Welcome back, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Crime Time. And today I'm here to talk about crime time. Now, today, infamous story is about the one and only infamous serial killer out of California, Charles Manson. And here's the article. This is his picture. I sure won't be near that, nor should sail with this man, nor want to live with this man, nor want to have anything to do with this man. Evil. This man was evil. Okay. Charles Miles Manson. November 12, 1934 to November 9, 2017, was an American criminal and musician who led the Manson family, a cult based in California in the late 1960s. Some of the members committed a series of 9 murders at 4 locations in July and August 1969 and 1971. Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the deaths of 7 people, including the film actress Sharon Tate. The prosecution contended that while Manson never directly ordered the murders, his ideology consulted an overt act of conspiracy. Before the murders, Manson had spent more than half of his life in a correctional institution, while gathering his cult following. Manson was a singer, songwriter on the fringe of the Los Angeles music industry, chiefly through a chance association with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, who introduced Manson to record producer Terry Melcher in 1968. The Beach Boys recorded Manson's song "Cease to Exit," renamed "Never Learn to Love" as a single B-side, but without a credit to Manson. Afterward, Manson attempted to secure a record contract through Melcher, but was unsuccessful. Manson would often talk about the Beatles, including their epiphany 1969 album, according to Los Angeles County District Attorney Vincent Bergoglio. Manson felt guided by his interpretation of the Beatles lyrics and adopted the term "helter skelter" to describe an impending apocalyptic race war. During his trial, Bergoglio argued that Manson had intended to start a race war. Although Manson and others dispute this, contemporary interviews and trial witnesses' testimony insisted that the Tate LaBinca murders were copycat crimes intended to exonerate Manson's friend Bobby Busolo. Manson himself denied having introduced anyone to murders anyone. Manson notoriety was an emblem of insanity, violence, and that macabre influenced pop culture. Reading recordings of songs written and performed by Manson were released commercially, starting with "The Love and Terror Cult." 1970, after his incarceration, some of his songs were covered by various artists who were originally sentenced to death. In 1971, his sentence was commuted to life with the possibility of parole after the California Supreme Court invalidated the state's death penalty statute in 1972. He served his life sentence at the California State Prison, Corcoran, and died at the age of 83 in late 2017. Let's talk about his background. 1973 to 1964, his early life. His childhood. Charles Manson was born on November 12, 1934, to 15-year-old Kathleen Manson Bauer Cavender, new medics from 1919 to 1973 in the University of Cincinnati Academic Health Center in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was named Charles Mouse Medics. Manson's biological father appeared to have been Colonel Walker Henderson Scott Sr. 1910 and 1954 of Kettlebur, Kentucky, against whom Kathleen Medics filed a paternity suit that resulted in a agreed judgment in 1937. Scott worked intimately in local mails and had a local reputation as a con artist. He allowed medics to believe that he was an army colonel after colonel was merely his given name. When Maddox told Scott that she was pregnant, he told her he had been called away on army business. After 7 months, she realized he had no intention of returning. Manson may never have known his biological father. In August of 1934, before Manson's birth, Maddox married William Eugene Manson from 1909 to 1961. A laborer at a dry cleaning business, Maddox often went on drinking spree with her brother Luther, even charged with multiple babysitters. They divorced on April 30th, 1937, after William allegedly gross neglect of duty by medics. Charles retained and William's last name Manson. On August 1st, 1939, Luther and Kathleen Maddox were arrested for assault and robbery. Kathleen and Luther were sentenced to 5 and 10 years of imprisonment, respectively. Manson was placed in the home of an aunt and uncle in McMahon, West Virginia. His mother was paroled in 1942. Mason later characterized the first weeks after she returned from prison as the happiest time in his life. Weeks after medics released Manson's family to Charleston, West Virginia, where Manson continually played truant and his mother spent her evenings drinking. She was arrested for being licensed but not convicted. The family later moved to Indianapolis, where medics met an alcoholic with the last name Lewis through Alcoholics Anonymous meetings and meeting him in August 1943. First offenses was an interview with Diane Sawyer. Manson said that when he was 9, he set his school on fire. Mason also got in trouble for truancy and petty theft. Although there was a lack of foster home placement in 1947, at the age of 13, Mason was placed in the Gilbert School for Boys in Terre Haute, Indiana, a school for male delinquents run by Catholic priests. Gilbert was a strict school where punishment for even smallest infraction included beatings with either a wooden paddle or a lethal strap. Mason ran away from Gilbert and slept in the woods under the bridge and wherever else he could find shelter. Manson fled home to his mother and spent Christmas 1947 in McMehan at his aunt and uncle's house. His mother returned him to Gilbert 10 months later, and he ran to Indianapolis. In 1948, in Indianapolis, Manson committed his first known crime by robbing a grocery store. At his first, the robbery was simply to find something to eat. However, Manson found a cigar box containing just over $100 and took the money, and he used the money to rent a room in Indianapolis Skid Row and to buy food. For a time, Mason had a job delivering messages for Western Union and attempt to live a life free of crime. However, he quickly began to supplement his wages through petty theft. He was eventually caught, and in 1949, a sympathetic judge sent him to Boys Town, a juvenile facility in Omaha, Nebraska. After 4 days at Boys Town, he and fellow student Blackie Nelson obtained a gun and stole the car. They used it to commit 2 armed robberies on the way to the home of Nelson's uncle in Peru, Illinois. Nelson's uncle is a professional thief, and when the boys arrived, he allegedly took them on appearances. Manson was arrested 2 weeks later during a nighttime raid on Prairie Store. In the investigation that followed, he was linked to his 2 earlier armed robberies. He was sent to the Indiana Boys School, a district reform school. At the school, other students allegedly gripped Manson with encouragement of staff member, and he was reportedly beaten. He ran away from the school 18 times. While at the school, Manson developed a self-defense technique and later called the insane game. When he was physically unable to defend himself, he would screech grins and waved his arms to convince aggressors that he was insane after a number of failed attempts to escape with two other boys in February of 1951. The three escaped with Reverend filling stations while attempting to drive to California in stolen cars when they were arrested in Utah. For the federal crime of stolen and driving car across state lines, Manson was sent to Washington, D.C.'s National Training School for Boys. On arrival, he was given aptitude tests, which determined that he was illiterate but had an above average IQ of 109. His caseworker deemed him aggressively and antisocial. First imprisonment. On a psychiatrist's recommendation, Manson was transferred in October 1951 to Neutral Bridge Honor Camp, a minimum security institution. His aunt visited him and told the administrator she would let him stay at her house and will help him find work. Mason had a parole hearing scheduled for February 1952. However, in January, he was caught raping a boy at knife point. Manson was transferred to the Federal Reformatory in Petersburg, Virginia. There, he committed a further 8 serious disciplinary offenses, 3 involving home extra acts. He was then moved to Mexico City Reformatory at Cherokee, Ohio, where he was expected to remain until his release on his 21st birthday in November of 1955. Good behavior led the early release in May of 1954 to live his aunt and uncle and make men. In January of 1955, Manson married a hospital waitress named Roselle June Willis. Around October, about 3 months after he and his pregnant wife arrived in Los Angeles in a car he had stolen in Ohio, Manson was again charged with federal crime for taking a vehicle across state lines. After a sexual erosion, he was given 5 years probation. Mason's failure to clear at Los Angeles hearing an additional charge filed in Florida, resulting in his March 1956 arrest and deposed. He was provisionally revoked and he was sentenced to 3 years imprisonment at a terminal island in Los Angeles. While Manson was in prison, Rosario gave birth to the son Charles Manson Jr. During his first year at Terminal Island. Manson received visits from Rosario and his mother, who were now living together in Los Angeles. In March of 1957, he visited from his wife. Sees his mother informed his Roselle was living with another man. Less than 2 weeks after before scheduled parole hearing, Manson tried to escape, raced in a car. He was given 5 years probation, and his parole was denied. Second imprisonment. He received 5 years parole in September of 1958, the same year after he received a divorce. By November, he was pimping a 16-year-old girl and receiving additional support. From a girl with wealthy parents in September of 1959, he pleaded guilty to a charge of attempting to cash a forged U.S. Treasury check, which he claimed to have stolen from a mailbox, and later charged and the latter charge was later dropped. He received a 10-year suspended sentence and probation after a young woman named Leona, who had an arrest record for prostitution, made a terrible plea before the court that she and Manson were deeply in love and were married if Charlie were freed. Before the years and the woman did marry Manson, possibly she would not be required to testify against him. Manson took Leona and another woman to Mexico for purpose of prostitution, resulting in him being held and questioned for violating the Mann Act. Though he was released, Manson correctly suspected that the investigation had not ended when he disappeared and the violation of probation. A bench warrant was issued and indictment for violation of Mann following April 1960. Following the arrest of one of them warrant for prostitution, Manson was arrested in June in Laredo, Texas, and was returned to Los Angeles for violating his probation on a drug and cashing charge. He was ordered to serve his 10-year sentence. Mason spent a year trying subject to repair the reversion of probation and violence. He was transferred to Los Angeles County Jail to the United States Penitentiary at McNair Island, Washington. There he took retired lessons from Berkeley, Carson, gang leader Alvin Creepy Covers, and obtained from another inmate a contact name of someone at Universal Studios in Hollywood, Phil Kaufman, among his fellow prisoners. During this time was Danny Treasure, who was participating in several hypnosis sessions. According to Jeff Gunn's 2013 biography of Manson, his mother moved to Washington State to close him during his McNair Island incarceration, working nearby as a waitress. He was sent back to the second time um, to Terminal Island. He had spent more than half of his he had spent more than half of his 32 years in prisons and other institutions. In 1968, San Francisco and Court Formation. 1969, 1971, Murders and Trials. In early August of 1969, some of Manson's family members committed murders in Los Angeles. The Manson family gained national notoriety after the murder of actress Sharon Tate and four others in her home on August 8th and 9th of 1969. And Leno and Rosemary Labenko the next day, Tech Watson and three other members of the family committed the Tate Labenko murders, allegedly under Manson's instructions. What was later accepted at a trial that Manson never expressly ordered the murders. His behavior was extreme to warrant a conviction of first-degree murder. Evidence points to Manson's possession of inciting a ritual that condos the pig and his proof that this was show and trigger. How do how to do the same? Family members are also responsible for other assaults, theft crimes, and the assessment of President Joe Ford and supplemental by the Nat Sleepy form. On January 1st, 2017, Manson was being held at Corcoran Prison when he was rushed to Mercy Hospital in downtown Bakersfield because he had gastrointestinal bleeding. A source told the Los Angeles Times Manson was breathing ill, and TMZ reported that the doctors consider him too weak for surgery. That nothing will be performed in cases such as his. He was returned to prison on January 6th, and the nature of his treatment was not disclosed. On November 15, 2013, an authorized source said that Mason had returned to the hospital in Bakersfield, but the California Department of Corrections did not perform the conformity with state and federal medical laws. He died from cardiac arrest resulting from respiratory failure brought on by colon cancer at the hospital on November 19th. I actually watched the Charles Manson documentary, I want to say a couple months ago. And actually, it was this interview. First though, the guy is so. I just don't understand how his family's involved in it. And I hope to kill these people, but his mama, sister, I think it was his uncle and his brother was involved too. Um, Tell me what you think about this story, and like, comment, subscribe, share, post notifications, share my videos, share my social medias. I love you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow on my other channel. Save Our Children. We're on our channel tomorrow. Actually, today, I came today earlier. Save Our Children together. Probably about, let's do 11, 12 a.m. All right. See you guys later. Peace.